Hello everyone and welcome back to Run It Up number 54. We are here today playing a $40 buy-in tournament on ultimatepoker.com. This is Ultimate Poker's nightly $40 buy-in, $500 guaranteed prize pool. We got up to $1,000 today, double X the guarantee. I am chip lead somehow with 14 players remaining. Let's load up the other table just so we'll have that up. Yeah. So I wasn't really. I was gonna play the entire tournament and for the video, and then at some point I was just like I wanted to eat, and so we missed the first half hour. We missed the first hour of the tournament, but I didn't actually register until like the 35-minute mark. So we've missed a little bit, but obviously things have worked out pretty well for us. So not a problem poker has got us here. I nut flushed versus lower flush somebody for like 8K, and that was mostly it. No, this guy's just dead. See ya. So yeah, that was how I got to like 8K, and then I've just chipped up from there. So yeah, don't know too many people in this tournament. There is the Solution. We saw him in actually probably the last tournament video, I think, actually. So that's it. There are 14 contenders. We are the chippiest amongst them. Hopefully we can get this done. First place is $407, so that would make for a lovely addition over to the fireplace mantle, which you can't see because of the microphone, but it's still there, I promise you. So I've been kind of tight because so many of these guys have like reshove or defensive stacks that can just attack us for being too light. And I have been kind of aggressive. You guys haven't seen it, but I don't really want to like super attack here because I feel like my opponents will like correctly not just tolerate it at this point. But no one's really been super aggressive. So I'm going to look for good spots, just not like the closer ones like this will just get mucked. So I've had a nice little weekend. I had a pretty relaxing weekend. I got up to Silver 1. That happened. If all my League of Legends friends, that's right. Never been such high up in the rankings. That's right. Excited about that. Played a little bit of Hearthstone. I'm gonna probably do some Hearthstone videos this week. I don't know, the streams maybe, videos maybe. I'm not sure yet, but there'll be some sort of videos because I've been enjoying it and people seem to really like watching it. So I'll be doing some Hearthstone stuff I think later on this week, and I still have some dream of doing Magic stuff as well. I just can't do everything. So there will be some things this week. The details of which we'll find out later, surprises, etc. Looks like there's a pretty big pot at the other table. So let's do some math, huh? Let's take a look here. So there were 28 players in today's tournament. There were 28 players, and there were 3,000 chips to start, so 84,000 in play. So we've got average with 8 players left and 5 spots pay. So we're in a pretty good spot, all in all, just keeping using that as the metric. No one else has 10,000 chips besides us as of right now, which is always strong. But no one's really that short either. So let's talk about strategy a little bit, like what our general strategy is given how the chips are laid out and the players around us. So blinds will be up in 2 minutes to 150, 300 with a 30 chip ante. So once that happens, we're going to have to kind of still be selective, still be kind of careful with who we pressure. All of our opponents will have shoving stacks at that point. So we're going to have to just kind of see who we can pressure, who we can get away with pressuring, and who is going to be fighting back. As of right now, I haven't seen anyone specifically that's been fighting back a lot. I am just anticipating that given their stacks that they would have. So much so that we shouldn't be opening like 9 deuce offsuit at least. So I think that's pretty much that. I don't really have anything else like super spelled out right now in terms of strategy. Ace-6 of hearts in the big blind will certainly be considering calling here. I mean, the guy just ships in. I think we have to call. This guy's been pretty aggressive. One of the more aggressive guys is probably shoving here pretty widely. I would fold if I had some like weaker hands than this, but ace-6 suited is pretty strong. Let's call. Oh, just ace and king. No big deal. Gonna need some help here. Some running cards are just the old 6. All right, 5 or 6 now. Otherwise, we'll be dropped down to 3rd or 4th or so. I mean, I think that's fine. You shove 13 big blinds. I'm gonna fold hands that are worse than that. Like if I had ace deuce offsuit, I would just fold. But I think ace six suited, I think he's gonna be shoving often enough there that we can call, even though we're not loving it. I think we make money there. There's some argument to be made for saving those 2,000 chips for a better scenario, but I think that's a pretty reasonable scenario. There's no reason to suspect that guy is as strong as ace king, and I think that was just slightly unfortunate for us. But certainly there would be, if we had more information, we could definitely know for sure. But I think given that we don't know our opponent, I've just seen him be slightly more aggressive than the average person. I think that makes me kind of feel like ace six suited should probably be a call. Did not work out for us this time, but we're still in the lead at the table and fourth or third overall. Definitely going to be opening this if it folds around to us. Don't think we have too many opportunities for like pre-flop aggression here. So if like one of these players raises, I'm probably just going to fold. We don't really have like a great stack to be in that like 3-bet, 4-bet war because they can just win with 4-bet shoving very comfortably. They make it 400, we make it 900. They can just shove very easily for 4K, both of these players. So we got to be a little cautious with entering into that battle. But looks like the old min raise and take it is all we needed to do here. So yeah, there's that. What else has been going on? Not really a ton. This whole weekend's been pretty quiet, which has not been the worst thing. Balance, it's one of those things that I'd never appreciated it until I got into my 20s, and I was like, oh, so you don't have to do just one thing and nothing else. Oh, interesting. So yeah, it's been nice to kind of mix the two. I actually spent like a couple hours yesterday reading and like watching, videos about things that were unrelated to poker or any kind of like directly work thing. That was nice. I really feel like if you're going to be a professional poker player, that it's like on you to continue your own education with things. And I was just playing around with like After Effects and going through the Linda tutorials on that. We're going to have to call here. Price is just too good. Run the cards, boys and girls. Fair enough. Going to need some 10s or 7s or the old 5-6er. That's half the equation. 10 will do just fine. I'm not too picky. Well, I am actually incredibly picky, but, I'm just a happy camper in this case. See you later, pal. He is our 14th place finisher. Jack and 10. Yeah. So I try to make sure, I read as much as I can reasonably read, and learning is an important thing. I feel like my opinion on learning when I was younger was much more sour towards educational system learning than learning in general. I remember when I was a younger kid, like 5 to maybe even like junior high school, I was like very big into like learning and reading and always wanted to like, learn really. Like I always had like a stack of books by my bed that I would try to read. And then at some point it became, not what I was looking for. It became not pleasant, and, people just, I don't know. I don't know exactly what did it for me that turned me off from like formal education. But, yeah, I feel like it was a junior high. They lost me. They lost me. But at this point, I kind of feel like it's pretty important to try to stay well-read, well-educated, read what you can. If you're a professional poker player, there's really no reason not to. You have the time to do it. I think that you might as well better yourself, and just generally good for your brain. All right, enough of that. Maybe we should read a couple questions. Last time I didn't read a question, people got upset with me. So I'll pull a question. I do have some different plans for questions this week. I'll be giving away lots of cool things to certain questions that I'll be asking. So nothing today. Today I'll be reading just viewer questions because I don't know how long this video is going to take. But looks like we're going to need some queens and 7s. Oh, just the old queen on the river. But I'm gonna we'll be doing giveaways this week that are correlated to like questions and such. So we'll break that out tomorrow. But for the time being, I'm just gonna do some old Dear J Carvers. King and king. All right, minimum raise, dealer. Both of these players have shown themselves to be capable of shoving, so I'm happy about that. This guy's got a great stack to shove, and, you know, I don't think this guy is shoving too often, but hey, you never know. Richard Nixon over there is deep in the tank, doesn't know what to do. He was just waiting for his friend, I guess, just to make sure he didn't have to play under the gun. I don't think he was actually waiting for that, but that did happen to benefit him. An extra hand out of the big blind. Actually, it benefits me too. No, it doesn't. Yep. Benefits me to have a guy sit to my left in terms of waiting for the blinds. Oh my god, this tanking is ridiculous. You'd think we were like on the stone bubble. Tank, 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 tank. Fold. Oh. Call. I call. I call. I call. I call. I call. Gonna need to sweat the gold 3. Just a 3 will do. No 3s for you. 3 pair though. Whatever that's worth. We do ship that. Nice little pickup there. Propels us all the way into the chip lead. By like 3,000 chips actually. 2,500 or so. We take the chip lead. 11 players remain. Oh, I'm getting excited. Let's just win. Let's just win another tournament on camera. At least this one we started with 15 people. It's not as crazy. It would be far more. It was far more crazy to just bink the the entire 50-person field on 44. If you've never seen that and you like, I guess I spoiled it, but it's a good video nonetheless. It's like lots of hours of tournament situations running up 44. Also, how do you guys like this little thing that I've just let grow? It's the weekend. It's still the weekend for me. I've got another hour and a half of weekend. And also, isn't it Columbus Day? Don't people have off on Monday? Most normal people have off Monday. I feel like they do. My life doesn't revolve around federal holidays, but I feel like tomorrow is an off day. 6 and 5 in the small blind. I'll be probably defending. So maybe I'll shave by Tuesday. I'll shave eventually this week. Or I can just grow it into the Conor McGregor beard. That would be fine too. So let me just give you this theoretical demonstration in this situation here. So we have a limp, a min raise, and we have 6-5 offsuit in the small blind. If you could tell me that I could call and then we could for sure see we would for sure be able to see a flop, you might be able to call here profitably, right? The reason that you can't call profitably is because there's a guy in the big blind and the first guy who opened limped, which is kind of suspicious. So the reason, your hand also is like probably slightly not good enough just to call, just purely because we're out of position. Our position is bad, our hand is not great, but the real reason you can't call is because you don't close the action, you don't guarantee to see a flop, right? Because you think this guy is probably pretty light. All he did is min raise, and this guy just limped. So 6-5 is a fine fighting hand in this spot, but not because we can't close the action and guarantee floppage. That's right. So against this limp here, we could attack it and raise, but I'm happy to attack it by calling. Let's just call. We've got ourselves the button. We've got 2 cards that are reasonably connected and the blue. Let's see what we can do here on flops such as these. So I automatically assume that this guy is going to win this hand more often than either of us, but maybe through the powers of checking, through the powers of betting for us, we can get it done. We do have a 3 straight and a 3 flush, lest we all forget. Quite happy, despite having a 3 flush, I'm quite happy to take it down right now with the old 7 high. There's another element at the other table between the solution and RC Magnum, another name that sounds familiar. Big flip goes to the player who was all in. Get a min raise here. We haven't seen Madmen make too many attacks on us. By the way, I just got caught up on Madmen too. Finally. It's been a very unproductive weekend when it comes to like, how often do you say things like that? Oh yeah, I finished the TV show. I got caught up on a TV show. That doesn't happen too often. Gonna start here with a bet. Ace high board, gonna hit us more than hit him. Pretty standard. Happy about it. They got 9 high. 9 high. We had nothing. That's right. Just got that job done there, no problem. Gonna min raise here. Probably have to call a shove from this guy, even though he's been kind of tight. Our hand would just be too good. Would not be calling shoves from either of these other players. Probably not even the big blind, but yeah, not the big blind. It'd be like a third of our stack to call, and he's not been aggressive enough. He's been calling more than re-raising. Well, we have made it to pair. We've made it to pair land. I think I'm going to start with a bet. In the old days, I used to think about checking in spots like this, but you have to imagine that what does checking look like? You have, and then what do we actually have? It looks very close though. We're checking back. It looks like we're weak, pot control, stuff like that. If we bet here and this guy folds like pocket fours with the four of spades, oh my god, it's so good for us. It's incredibly good for us. So I like things to be good for us. So I think starting with a bet makes sense. If he checked to us, I would have considered doing something aggressive, but can't win this. Probably aren't winning by calling. You're just calling he has queen 10 of diamonds or something maybe. Nope. Just let him have that one. So maybe we shouldn't have bet flop and we could have saved ourselves a little bit, but I think it's fine, honestly. It's got to be all right. We lose another player at the other table, so one more elimination and we'll be down to the final 9. Okay, I'm happy to check back here. Sometimes I would raise. You guys have seen me mix it up between raising and checking in spots like this. All depends on opponents, dynamic, how we're generally feeling in the moment. Happy to bet on flops like this, though. Open ender, 3 flush. What more can you ask for, really? Check and raise. Okay. So I'm slightly concerned that he has our straight draw covered, and we're just like, if he has 8-9, he's in such good shape against us. But we have position, and we have a great price, so I'm happy to call. Maybe the turn card is like the king of clubs, and he ends up check folding, something like that. There might be some cards we can win on without improving, and sometimes he might just be check raising and then giving up. So didn't work out for us this time, but I think that mathematically we didn't make too many big mistakes there. So blinds go up every 10 minutes, so it's going to be a bit of a shit show. Yeah, that's what it is. That's right. This is just a weird dynamic of like limping and min raising and like stuff like that. If this occurred for a long period of time, I would actually like to investigate these two for some sort of a collusion. Like, not saying that they are or anything like that, but if you did this coordinatedly, it's actually not a bad strategy to have somebody limp and then someone else min raise, because it pushes the blinds out because they're just like confused, and you end up like stealing the blinds and chopping it up with your friend. So not that we know this yet, but this has happened twice so far, and if it happened a third time, I would be a little suspicious. Especially if they're not playing pots post flop. Like, I don't remember how the first one went, but this just went check, 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 and gave the pot to him. I don't know. I'm not saying nothing. That could be totally fine. Just something to be aware of. When you've been around poker long enough, you start to notice things like that, and you just, I don't know. It's a little peculiar. Gonna have to min raise fold here. This guy's shoved a lot, so I'm not loving this, but we're risking 800 to win 800, and we certainly win the pot often enough. Whenever he calls, we win the pot like 2/3 of the time, something around there, maybe even more, probably closer to like 70% of the time. And he doesn't shove often enough to make this unprofitable, in my opinion. We do manage to take that down. Still chip leader. Pretty nice little hand here. If this J guy folds, I think we just end up actually open shoving. If we min raise, we're gonna have to fold to shoves, and that would be incorrect, given that if our opponent has ace 3, for example, we should never be raised folding, mathematically speaking. So we just shove to get ourselves to fold, get better hands to fold, and to avoid making mistakes. It's always good plan. Worst case scenario, we run a 10K pot with queen jack of clubs, and whatever, can't be too bad. I remember, I haven't heard the expression in a long time, but there used to be an expression in poker that was like, oh yeah, queen jack suited runs good, hot or cold. I don't know what that means. I don't know what running hot or cold means. Just it was like, oh, it runs good whether it's all in or not. It's like a fundamental misunderstanding of poker theory. I have a feeling, that entire expression. But I'm sure there are plenty of poker expressions that have fundamental misunderstandings applied to them. My favorite little saying: you can't win a tournament on the first hand, but you sure can lose it. Listen to that, kids. That's right. B nits. All right, we got a little walk here. I'll take it. All right, over to the small blind we go. 6-5 offsuit. If it folds to us, we're probably going to shove. If somebody opens, we're probably going to fold. If anything else happens, I guess we'll see. If this limp min raise thing happens, maybe I'll attack that, because at this point I'm a little suspicious of this limp min raising thing going on here. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. We're still on the exact stone bubble. Short stack is Madmen after this hand is complete. No limp min raise combo this time. Interesting that he'd make it 1,000 and not smaller, just because this guy's got 3,000, so making it 1,000 doesn't really accomplish anything. It almost looks weaker to me that he's made it 1,000 and not 800. Let's see if that means anything, because we're probably going to find out. One would like to think. All right, we were flipping. We were flipping. Not sure if that we learned anything from this hand, though. Like, I can't say for sure that we've learned something. Ooh, the old 2-pair run out. This is actually great for us, because this Madman guy's been pretty tight, you know, and I'm happy to have all these guys have the same 5K, 6K stack and let us just go to the exploitation town, you know, put them all in the same cage, run the same exploiting business. You know, we got it. We got it covered here. Very happy with ace-10 offsuit. Certainly going to be raising it up against a limp. If he shoves, congratulations, you've managed to get me. Congratulations. You could have min-raised and I would have shoved too. You know, we're pot stuck at this point. Unless it goes shove, we're not folding. Shove, I guess we would have to be behind, probably. Unless it was something crazy. This downtown guy is certainly taking his time often. All right, so good to know that this guy limp folded. So we'll definitely be putting pressure on his limps in the future, especially in the small blind, because we've seen him limp in the small blind against us too in a spot we could have exploited but did not. Super happy to get 2 7s here. Certainly going to town. Not folding. Give me your chips. Give me your blinds and antes. Yes, that's right. We become Chip Dracula, apparently. I must be watching too much Craig Ferguson, because I call. I have 3 of a kind. What do you have? He's actually drawing live, which is unfortunate. Full house? You can't beat that. All right. So we are propelled with our full house off to the final table. I might have to change, yep. Slide that right on in. All right. Look at us go. Final table. All right, so let's look at, let's do a bunch of strategy, evaluations, conversation, all that stuff. So, like we said before, 5 spots, run it up, says strong finish. I have my camera over it, so you guys can see all the cards. I had to cover something. So yeah, strong finish, who is the Hannibal Lecter avatar, is said run it up. So we have at least one guy who's aware of us. We played with the solution in a prior video. Madman was the guy on our right. On our left before, so yeah, he was the guy on our left before. Downtown was the guy who was in that same seat before. There's a guy with a cat avatar, which is always great, and I might actually recognize that RC Magnum from earlier videos, and I don't think I know CLG's dad. I don't know who that is, and I don't know this guy either. So. All right, so we got that covered. Blinds will be up in 2 minutes to 250, 500 with a 50 chip ante. So we'll have 40 big blinds as the chip leader. What else is there to know? And yeah, so 5 spots pay. So we're going to put a lot of pressure on our opponents. I'm going to definitely be raising hands like this for sure, even though we have bad position. Our hands is, we have such a dominating chip stack that we're going to put a lot of pressure on people and kind of just see what the deal is. This is the time for the jabs, We don't want to try to take close spots for like 6 or 7 or 8K. Like we don't want to take a flip for 10K right now. We want to just put little bits of pressure on people. See if we can win pots without showdown. Spots like this is great for us, where we could theoretically, well, great might be overstating it slightly. So, I really would like to do something that doesn't mean folding, but I think we just have to, God, it's so sad. You know, I mean, I really wanted to call it first and then see what happens on turns, but he's going to have like exactly a pot-sized bet left on turn, and even if we somehow had the best hand or he didn't have much, he could still just blast us off on turn and we'd have to fold. You know, our hand isn't that good. We don't have 2 overcards. We do have a 3 straight, 3 flush, and an overcard. Our hand is okay, but, you know, this guy's been kind of tight up till now, and him just bombing it out there for no reason into the chip leader doesn't seem like it makes a ton of sense. So, again, price-wise, we're getting a great price here, but I think lockdown poker, even though we have position, our hands is so bad. We're worried about this guy, of course. Ooh, let's see the cards. Just aces and ace-king. Our 9-4 was not in first place, as predicted. So ace king is just running dead here on the turn. Sorry, pal. Sorry, you will not be winning this hand. So good to note that this player limped aces, and also good to note that this guy min re-raised with ace king, which is not min re-raised, just min raised out of position with ace king. Things worth noting. I still like our spot. I don't love that the only guy who knows us and the only guy that has 10,000 chips is directly on our left. That kind of sucks. Oh, this guy's got 10,000 too. So I don't love that he's got, you know, so many chips on our left, but we'll see. We haven't seen him put any pressure on us so far. So we're going to start here with a bet. Pretty standard hand so far, it seems like. Gets it done. Probably had the best hand. Maybe not. Probably. 70-80% we had the best hand there. What did he fold? King high? He watches run it up. He knows. Any true run it up warrior knows the value of king high, you know? Especially blind versus blind in a limped pot, you know? Let's be real. That was like less than 2, right? Maybe not less than 2, but it was in there somewhere. This is kind of a loose call, but we've seen this guy limp before. Actually, we should have maybe attacked this because I had forgot that we had seen him limp before and then fold. But I'm happy to call here in the button. I think it's fine. Neither of these guys have shown themselves yet to be crazy aggressive in spots like this. And now we've got ourselves a tricky flop. This is one of those not for intermediates. This is going to be a little bit on the trickier side. If this guy continues, we have to just fold. We could have the best hand, of course, but you know, it's unlikely. If he had folded, we would have continued because we probably have the best hand against this guy. But yeah, as played, I think we just fold. We could be making a mistake, but more often than not, they'll either have a ton of equity. You know, one of them will have like king jack, the other one will have, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a second hand. Like they have to both have like king 10, king jack, or something like that for us to be ahead here. I'm a little cold in here. I've been pulling that fireplace up and turning it on for real heat. I've been really doing it lately. I'm gonna do it again because I'm so cold on video. There we go. Now I'm gonna be all toasty. That's right. The run it up warmth space heater over here. Hey, at least it's a real fireplace, you know? All right, so this guy, I don't know what in the world is going on. This guy bet out half his stack and then check folded. Oh no, he eventually calls. All right, so they both had king jack, which sucks for us. But, you know, I think that's a very best case scenario ultimately. So, you know, we can't be too upset. Oh, I'm so warm now. This is great. It's like laying on the beach. Something I would know very little about. But Jay Carver, you're so tan and glowy. You have to get your YouTube fixed. If that's what you said. All right, now I've had my own conversation. I'm heating myself in the middle of the desert with a fake fireplace. You know, it's just another day here in the Run It Up headquarters. Made a final table. Can't forget that. That's something. Chip leader, also, not just limping along in there. We actually made it happen. We could have had all the chips if I was just a little bit more stubborn with the queen and the 4, you know. You know, when the first guy open pots or whatever, it was near open potting. You got to give him credit for like some combination of pair and draw, some of which destroy us and some of which we're slightly ahead of. Straight, crushing us. 2 pair, crushing us. You know, all of these things are unfortunate for us to have. So never mind that there are 2 people. So I feel like our reasoning is fine there. Pretty happy with pocket 8s. Hopefully these first 3 players fold. I will be folding this hand, as crazy as it might strike some of you. I'm not in the business of calling 20 big blinds with pocket eights for half my stack. That is not a thing I will be doing. Is it possible this guy has 2 sevens here or 2 threes or like ace 7 suited? Yes, it's definitely possible, but we haven't seen this guy do anything yet. This guy could just be sitting there waiting for like jacks or better and just shoving. We have no concept as to what this guy's strategy is, and I'd rather not risk half of our stack in that situation when we're going to have so many good opportunities to put chips in the pot for much less of a risk. So if it folds to us here, I think this is actually a pretty good spot to attack. The button's been kind of tight. I'm going to just fold now to this. We would have at least considered it. Our hand being so bad would have discouraged us somewhat, which is why in real life, if we were playing like true live poker, this is where squeezing is so nice because you can squeeze the cards and it's there are no pips across on the... I have to get a real deck of cards here. I have to get a real deck of cards so I can show you what I mean. But we were talking about squeezing cards the other day, which is where you like take a card, turn it horizontally, and like hold it down, and just peel up just the end of it so you can see the horizontal side of the card. And by looking at that, you can tell whether a card is here. These are good examples. So by peeling like a 7, you see that there are 3. It's a 3 across. There are 3 pips across the side of the card. There are also 3 pips across the side of an 8, and 3 pips across the side of a 6. So if you peel a card and it's 3 across, it's either a 6, 7, or an 8. It's that simple. If it's a pink card, it's a jack, king, or queen. No across means deuce, 3, or ace, etc., etc. So if you look down at no across, you either have aces, deuce, 3 offsuit, or some combination of those, obviously. So in real live poker, if you squeeze down no spot, could have aces, so you could just raise. Knowing you have deuce 3 offsuit makes that play a little bit weaker, because now you're not really balancing anything. You're just like raising with a garbage hand. So online takes away that fun, but you do make it up on the not having to smell people. It's true. I feel like if online poker branded itself as live poker without the smelling, it would do pretty well, sometimes. It depends where you play, I think people probably have some pretty good stories with that. I really don't have any crazy stories of like the brutality of live poker. I think like the worst, let's think of some of like the worst experiences some of my worst experiences with live poker. I really can't think of any that were like really weird or bad. Nothing that like, somebody was around making me uncomfortable, or I really can't think of any. I mean, I've been around for like crazy things, but never like uncomfortable things. I've always been pretty comfortable. Awkward, perhaps. Uncomfortable, I don't think so. Oops, I've typed a plus into box. All right, you guys can't even see it. I could have got away with it. Accidental typo. Ace 10 suited, certainly good enough to raise. 1200 seems fine. Once again, I think as long as you don't make it higher than 1500, any number is probably fine. 14, 10, 99, whatever works, I think. All right, never mind. Moving on. Pretty good flop for us here. Going to start with a bet. If our opponent leads for something that's like non-crazy, like half pot or less, I think I'm going to actually we either call or shove. I think either one of those is fine. I'm never folding though, because what does this guy have? He has a queen and just bets 2K. We've seen him do enough like somewhat clowny things that I'm happy to just shove here. He's going to bet fold. Sometimes he might bet fold a better hand than ours. Ooh, this looks scary for us. All right. Okay, we've got outs at least. We're drawing dead on one point. Ooh. Wait. All right. Well, you just watched me get it in with 0% equity. Not zero, but 2% equity and make it happen. I had to break out the Toshiba. That's what the guy to our left says. He said, uh-oh, he got out the Toshiba. Yeah. Well, he got us. He played well. He played it well. All right, so once again, I would like to call here if we could see a flop for sure. We'll talk about that hand in a second. Trust me, I'm not over it. I think we've seen this guy limp enough times that he's at least somewhat likely to limp call and not limp shove. All right. 2 hands in a row we've played spectacularly now. You know, diamonds, I just can't fold them. If this guy folds, we have to call. We're not going to like it, but 4K to win 7,600, you know, what is he doing over there? We're never going to be happy about it, but can't fold. There's just no way. We're just getting too good of a price. It just can't. There's just no way, you know? Even if he has, like... All right. Okay. Listen. Before you get too upset with me. Nice hand. All right, let's talk about it. All right, let's talk about some of these hands. So, I should have just folded the Queen 10 suited pre-flop like I wanted to in the first place, right? We were given the roping in, and that was just that for us. I'm doing my pro-ship duty and speaking to fans who are being nice, actually, not shitting on me for playing those last 2 hands so badly. I guess we just fold here with deuce 7 offsuit. All right. I'm back to relaxing mode. No more silly poker. Lockdown poker. At least we know the Toshiba is all nice and warmed up, right? So, okay. So let's talk about the ace 10 suited hand, because the queen 10 suited hand, I think, is just like a consequence of like, yeah, the guy limped and now he's shoved, but now the price is so good, you know, okay, la-da-da, I guess we have to call. I'm not happy about it, but, you know, I think the queen 10 suited is a math problem, and I think we got it close enough to write. For my sake, I'm okay with it. But I think we should have just folded pre-flop. Could attack this, but, you know, everyone's so short. I'm fine. I think we've had our time attacking. I think we can take some time off for now. The ace 10 hand is the thing I'm less sure about. So we raise under the gun, folds around to the big blind, who's been kind of tight, but has done some things that have been unconventional, right? He min raised out of the small blind with ace king against the aces. He let out with 1200 that other orbit earlier when we had the king jack of clubs on the queen 8-7 board. Let's think. By the way, you know I'm stone sober because I can remember all of these things. If you're a friend of mine and you want to know how sober I am, ask me to remember what you just said 2 minutes ago. You can, yeah, that's just the truth. Anyway, so yeah, he was on our left before. More memory. Oh, it's crazy. He was on our left before and was relatively tight for most of it. Even a little bit before the video started, I think he was there, right? Oh, no, he got moved on this video, I think. So, all in all, I think when he's leading on the flop, there's some percentage of the time he's just lead folding, right? He's just got like 10-9 suited, and he's like, I'm gonna try to bluff you, and just bets for no reason, right? And then we just shove and he just folds, right? That happens some percentage of the time. I guess we min raise, but I'm really not liking it. But 1,200 to win 1,400, you know, not even risking, you know, the same to win the same. It's like a great price we're getting here. How do we not attack? If CLG's dad over there decides to attack, I guess we would have ended up calling. But gonna start here with a bet. Happy to do it. Sure, why not? You know, if he shoves, we fold. What more can you do? Oh, call. Well, we've turned a double gut shot, but we just have to fold. I mean, yeah. We just have to fold. Unfortunately, did not work out for us this time. 5-7 of spades, pretty hand. I feel like we got to lock this down, though. As crazy as it is that it hurts me, I think we just have to fold. All right, let's talk more about his hands. We got to restore our image. We have been way too crazy. Everyone's too short. We don't want to be attacking. We need to be more lockdown poker. Fortress poker. Fortress poker. I like how our Railbird says, nice fold. You might be a fan of running up if you know that me folding any hand there is some sort of painful event. So props to you, ace 1, 2, 3. Shout out. Anyway, so I think that he is leading. Sometimes with hands, he's just bet folding. Sometimes he has spades, which we're usually ahead of, because he doesn't likely have ace king too often, and ace queen would be a pair. So unless he has like ace jack of spades, we have the best hand if he has spades. Some percentage of the time he has hands like 2 7s, which are almost like asking a question, like, am I ahead? And in that spot, I think when you see people that take that exact line and show up there, like let's say someone just wakes up with 2 7s, having just bet and now got shoved on, I think it's almost like a coin flip. Like if he has 2 7s, some people will say like, okay, I got my answer, even though, we could have a worse hand. So some people would end up bet folding with 7s. Some people will bet call with 7s. But either way, we're not too upset about that because we've got decent equity when called, and when he folds, we win everything. So there's that. This whole orbit, we're going to be tight. We're going to be as tight as we can be for 2 more hands, at least. And then he has some queens, of course, as well. He's got some queens. He's got like queen 10, queen 9, queen jack, maybe king queen, ace queen, apparently. So he can definitely have king queen if he can have ace queen. So he definitely has some queens as well. So I evaluated him to have more of the nothings, hands that might fold, and spades than queens. But against, it's a tournament, so you're only making decisions off of very limited information. So we don't know for sure, but we pulled the fireplace up just in time for the heater to begin. That was nice. Just as it got nice and warm in here, it was just in time for the heater, which has kept us alive. Surprisingly cold. How's the weather in Vegas? It's true, surprisingly cold. A little bit warmer right now, but that's not thanks to the weather. Anyway. Whatever that means. The words made sense, but then I did a facial expression, and then I was like, made it sound like it wasn't just the heat. I don't even know. Anyway, so yeah, those 2 hands didn't work out too well for us, but we're still here, surviving. Worst case scenario, if that goes the way it should go, 98% of the time we just lose. So if that goes that way, we end up having like 10K chips, which would suck, but we would still be in like a contention for like third, fourth. We would be like tied for second instead of being, chip leader, which we then, of course, managed to give away we managed to give away right on after that. So 84,000 chips in play. We have a quarter of the chips in play. So we've got average stack with like 4 left. Okay, I can manage. Huge pot here. Just a full house. Just full house is going to scoop this one. 5 spots pay, right? Yeah, 5 spots pay. So not quite in the money, but we are on the bubble. And we're not the chip leader anymore either. The solutions managed to figure out that the solution to winning poker hands is to just make a full house. Full house against trips and an open shove, whatever the open shove was for. Going to be raising this. I think that this guy might play a little bit tighter because he has won this huge pot. These guys are early position. This guy's been pretty tight, and this guy's got pretty short stack in the big blind. All of these things encourage me to think that this raise is profitable. We are going to get shipped on here sometimes by these 2 guys. I tried to go 1 orbit without being too loose, but they just lost 2 people. I think this is a good scenario. Good enough scenario, at least. All right. No. Okay. Serious lockdown poker. I don't know if this guy just said nice hand to me or if he said nice hand before. I'll move the camera around now because now we've got some space. Let's move it there. There we go. So it's heads up here against the solution. I think the solution limped. We just have nothing, so I guess we fold. All right. Straightforward hand of poker. We finally did it. We did it. 1 hand of straightforward poker. So RC Magnum is our short stack. $81 for min cash, so it's about 2 buy-ins back, seems like. This was a $40 buy-in, right? So $40 buy-in, gonna have to just outlast the cat avatar. Oh my god. How can we not? We don't want to min cash though, like the other one we wanted to min cash a little bit more because it was like a fairly significant portion of our bankroll. We don't want $80. We want the whole thing. We want the trophy. We want the title, If we're gonna spend multiple amounts of hours, maybe, playing this tournament, we want satisfaction, Let's make it happen. Let's see what we can do over at Team Conor McGregor over here. Almost. All I need is a little leprechaun shamrock for my hat, and then we'll be... How pissed would you guys be for my leprechaun outfit if I just stuck a shamrock to my hat? and grew out a beard like this. And I was just like, hey, hey. Probably more pissed about the voice, I think, than the Shamrock. So I limped here pre-flop because, we have the button and why not? Don't see any reason not to limp on the button. We have a hand and the button. If it checks to us, we'll be betting. If it bets into us, we have to fold. Our hands is just too garbagey. Although I'm a little suspicious as this guy has very much. I think we just lock it down. This time might have been a little... it's fine. If we had Queen 9 offsuit, I wouldn't be complaining. I think we would fold like Queen 6 offsuit. So I feel like Queen 7, Queen 8 offsuit is about the cutoff where I stop limping. So correctly identified this guy as probably not having much, and the big blind managed to take a pretty big pot there, actually. Or under the gun, actually, was that player. So pretty nice little swing over there. Definitely going to be min-raising with King Queen suited. We're going to have to call a shove from downtown if he ships it. Probably not from big blind, though, because I think he's been a little bit tighter, but... All right. Well, got 2-1 in position. Things I like. I mean, on the exact bubble. All right. I don't know what is going on in the world. I don't even know if I can explain how I just folded 2. Bullet dodging. Whatever. It's sincerely, like, not even knowing what he had there, not even knowing that we just dodged aces. I just felt like that guy was just too tight for us to call with King Queen suited in position. I didn't want to reshove. I didn't think he was likely to be re-raised folding. And on the exact bubble with a guy who's as short as he is in the big blind, who's been kind of tight, he's going to have ace, king, ace, queen, aces, kings, queens a lot. All these things destroy us. So I felt like we should just probably fold that, and looks like I think that's just the correct fold, whether he showed us or not. Obviously it's sweet to see him show us aces, but it's relatively irrelevant, obviously. So he min-raised here, good hand. Fine enough. Big blind's pretty short. All right, off to the flop we go. Okay, so it checks around to us. I'm going to bet small. We're going to have to call if RC Magnum shoves. We can get away with betting really small, though, because the solution will fold unless he has a pair or something decent. Okay, I'll take it. We needed that. We needed that little boost right there. So, oh, I'm sorry. How long have I had this out for? I don't know when that happened. I'll have to check that out later. As long as it's still recording. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. I was so worried about the first run-up we did for tournaments, 44. I was so worried that I hadn't recorded that whole thing. I was like compulsively checking the entire video. And I've done that here too a little bit, but all right. Into the muck. Into the muck we go. Ooh, spiked it. Spiked it. Not a problem. All right. 5 players still. Blinds will be up in... Oh, I guess we're going to be on break before the blinds go up. All right. So I might have to break this into 2 videos, boys and girls. I might have to. I didn't know I'd have to, but I think I might have to. I don't really want to. I actually feel like as a viewer, I would prefer to have one long 90-minute video that has the whole thing for my satisfaction to be consumed rather than put it out on 2 separate days. Fuck that. We'll do it all here, We'll do it all. At this point, with 10-minute levels, it shouldn't last much more than like 45 minutes anyway until it's done, so may as well cast till we bust. I got you covered. Don't worry. Things like come right back after this commercial break. It's nonsense, Nonsense. Also, things that annoy me when it comes to like television production are shows that show you previews for what's coming up after the commercial break. I'm already watching. I'm not going anywhere. I don't need previews. You're just spoiling it for me. I don't like that. I don't watch too many shows that do it, but the shows that I have watched that do it, I'm not a fan. It annoys me. It is one of those first world problems. Definitely gonna be raising up with king and 9. Strong finish has been pretty tight, so if he shoves, we just have to fold. If downtown shipped it in, we're gonna have to call. Mathematically speaking, we just have to. Looks like we get the job done. No blood, minimal blood drawn there. Okay, pretty near the same scenario, except we don't really want to attack the big blind. We kind of want to stay out of the big blind's way a little bit. The only guy we recognize, I guess that's not true. One of the guys we've recognized went deep in an earlier video. Don't know if he knows us or anything like that. So this might, given that he got a walk, I probably won't give him respect again, like in future orbits. But I felt like at this particular time, with the short stacks, given how bad our hand was, that it was fine to just fold there. Look at that disciplined fold. No, thank you. Take it back. Refund. Refund, please. All right, over to the big blind we go. I think that this will be the last hand before break. So I am going to pause the video now, but we'll be back wrapping up the rest of this video, probably. Unless something bizarre happens, we'll be back. Oh, the big pot. Going to determine who lives and who is out, or in the pain seat. Ace over queen, otherwise our short stack doubles into like third. All right. So when we get back from the break, blinds will be still 400, 800, and we'll see if we can get it done. 20K in a dream, you know? Let's see if we can do it. Be back in, never mind. One more hand at least. Until next level, 4 minutes, 4-minute break. Next break, 4 minutes. Ha, reading. I was like, oh, the break is 5 minutes long. I forgot that we haven't synchronized breaks yet because we're by ourselves here in Nevada, or pretty much. So I forgot we hadn't synchronized the breaks yet. So it's like old school where it starts at 11:05 or whatever. Gonna call here. Can clearly defend. I'm very worried about this player being strong because he's been pretty tight, but definitely defending. I would love to see this go check because we're going to probably be able to win the pot on the turn. Against the bet here, though, against a guy who's been kind of tight, I'm just too concerned that this guy isn't bet folding. If he had bet smaller, maybe I would be considering it, but given how much he bet, I just don't think he's bet folding, and our hand is just not good enough to really do anything. All right. Over to the small blind. Happy to complete here in a spot like this. This player's been pretty straightforward, so if he were to raise, I think we just fold, but not expecting that to happen too often. Can I start here with a check? If somebody has watched every single run it up that I've ever made, this should be somewhat suspicious because I would probably bet if I had nothing, but you know, that's not something I always subscribe to, but I've done it. It's a very standard low limit strategy when you have nothing bet. It works. So at this point, I feel pretty confident we have the best hand. I'm going to check and give him an opportunity to bluff. If he has like a single spade, 3-5, you know, something like that, I want to give him an opportunity to win this pot. Definitely not folding. If we've somehow lost this pot, I would be relatively shocked. Looks like we were pretty right on the money with that hand. All right, if it folds to us, we could either min raise, fold, or just shove. You know, just shoving creates an opportunity. This guy is going to maybe fold a little bit more than he would otherwise. Like, if we shove, maybe he folds king-jack, whereas in this case, he's calling with it. But I feel like this is just better for not risking 10,000 of our chips, you know? So we're going to start here with a bet. 16 seems fine. God, we're doing really good with our 3 flushes. not least of which was the ace-10 of diamonds, of course. That was a beautiful spot with that. So I could call, but I'd really rather not. I'd rather raise or fold. I think raising this is fine. If this player continues, it'll probably be with calling and not with raising, because any strong hand that this player would play, he would probably raise it, just given that we're all expecting him to raise any 2 cards. So when he limps, it's like, you know, get out of here with your limping. You know, get out of here, Richard Nixon. You know, take that limping game to the back to Washington. You know. All right, very happy to min raise here. Would have called all of these shoves, proving my point. All right, we're chopping here a very, very high amount. We're equally racing in the flush draw race. Looks like no one will be winning the flush draw race unless someone makes 2 pair here. Chopping it up. This is actually cool with me to have this hand go to showdown because it shows we actually had a decent hand. You know, we weren't just raising it up with like, you know, the old Jack 4 offsuit. So this will buy us a little bit of respect. Not that that's really important given the stack sizes of the people behind us. Gonna min raise here. Don't see a reason not to. All these guys are in the same cage where no one wants to go broke. No one really wants to move all in. This guy doesn't want to get back into the same club as those 3 people, the same cage club as these 3 people over there. And the only person we have to worry about is the solution, who is out of position. So all of these things equate to me wanting to be in there. All right. And it all worked out. 84,000 chips in play. We've done a good job of slightly putting the hurt on the bubble. Slightly. You know, we don't have half the chips, but we have got a good amount of them. A walk here is pretty sweet. This is great. So it's not my job to bust the bubble. A lot of people that have big stacks in these situations are like, you know, it's your job to burst the bubble. My job is not to burst the bubble. My job is to tax the people who are waiting for the bubble to burst. You know, like spots like this, which are so slam dunk good for us, because even if this guy has like ace 3, do you really want to call all in with ace 3 with 2 guys as short as they are? Probably not. And even if he does, what do we care? Okay, you get 8,000 chips. We're still fine, you know? All right. This is our spot to, you know, even though we like keeping the bubble and preserving the bubble, this is just too good of a spot for us to win, you know, 6,000 chips or whatever it is. So let's see what happens here. Likely have the best hand. Very much so. And he's going to need some spades or backdoors. 7 of spades. Not going to do it. All right, so we push ourselves all the way up to like 39K. Right as we get in the money there. 84,000 chips total. So we've got like half the chips in play. 5-handed. All right. Just in time for a break. All right, so I'm going to go take a 5-minute break, but we'll be back, and hopefully we can just run it on up. Guaranteed $80 so far. We will be back in a second. All right, we are back with more Run It Up. Final 5 still. To you guys, it was nothing. To me, it was 4 minutes. So I had forgot that we had started with asking questions, and I had forgot that I tried to pull one and then forgot to actually ask it. So we'll answer some questions in the next minute or so until the tournament resumes. Dear Jay Carver, when you're involved in a hand, by the way, if you want to ask me a question, and you can still answer me questions, and I will still answer all of these questions eventually, but I'll be doing a different specific sort of email thing this week, later on this week. But for now, if you want to ask me a question, dearjcarver@gmail.com. I'll do my best to answer it on camera, usually, probably, preferably. All right. Dear Jay Carver, when you're involved in a hand and your opponent is trying to start a conversation with you to try to gather info, do you oblige or do you double fist your face like Phil Hellmuth? Well, I definitely don't double fist my face. That's not something that I do. I believe you mean like, which is not a thing I do too often. It depends. You know, it kind of feels like the way that I've always interpreted talking is that you have to look at it as someone offering you a game, and you have to decide whether or not you're better at it than they are in terms of engaging. Because you can always listen. You can listen and try to think if you can like kind of interpret what their words mean and make that into into information. But in terms of like actually engaging in conversation and talking yourself or doing any kind of interaction, you have to kind of decide for yourself if you're better at that game than your opponent. So if I'm playing with an amateur who's trying to talk to me, I am of course talking, because I feel like I'll probably be better at, you know, that talking information guessing game than my opponent would be. However, if I'm playing Negreanu, Daniel I like talking to, so I might even talk to Daniel sometimes, more than maybe I should. I'm going to just fold here. This guy's shoving so often. One of these two is shoving so often. This hand's so bad. So, you know, against the guy that I think is like, I don't know, let's say this is a great spot for 2 kings. Oh, what a flop. What a flop for the 6-5 suiteds. He turns a pair. Oh, let's see if our Oh, the puppy dog feet for the fans. Puppy dog feet magic. Unlucky for Richard Nixon over there, but play will be faster now, so there's that. I guess we just fold here under the gun. All right. So yeah, I look at it as in terms of like, are you going to be better? Are you going to gain more information than your opponent most of the time in speaking? If so, then speak. If not, shut your mouth. Right? Also, there are other reasons to do it in terms of like speaking at the poker table builds contacts. You know what I mean? Like if you never talked at a poker table, you're not going to make good friends. You know, maybe you miss opportunities to make contacts, make friends. You know, all sorts of things. So I think we just raise, get it in here. Our hand is pretty strong. Maybe we just call, let him fold. We're in position. But I think this guy is going to bet fold often enough that we should just raise, get it in for 11,000. If the solution shipped it, we'd probably fold. But this guy is going to be bet folding here often enough. He'll just bet fold like an 8 or a 7, get it in with like 9, 10 sometimes, which would be great for us, or worse diamonds, both great for us. So I think raising makes the most sense there. So yeah, I felt like I had one more other point to make with the speaking game. Oh yeah, the contact stuff is what I was talking about. So yeah, you don't want to. You have to also look at it in terms of like potentially, not that you should like run your life this way as like your innermost motivations, but you should also think through spots like that in terms of like, if I engage with Bill Perkins in this 100K, is it likely that I don't know, he's just a random example, but anyone like that, when you're at a poker table and someone's talking with you and you sit there stoically, you guys probably aren't going to become besties, So you might want to consider that as well. It's the same thing as like people ask me, should I wear, not too often, but people ask me like, oh, should I wear sunglasses and a hat and a hood and everything? And I'm like, sure, if your goal is to like, if you're there to play poker and it's like, it means a lot to you and it's like a super critical juncture and like poker is all that matters, because those things do conceal your information, but they also make you like, a little bit of a isolated, and it's not necessarily the best thing for you in other regards. So all right, well, we got through one question at least. Maybe we'll get through a couple other ones before the final table is completed. Going to be calling if this player shoves against the limp now. This might actually be weaker than normal, because against the limp you would assume this guy would min raise if he didn't have it, right? So this guy could be shoving here with just any 2 cards and just be like, fuck this limp is weak as shit. And worst case scenario, we lose 18k if this guy is limp trapping us, but I think we're going to just shove here. All right, pretty close. We're almost tying. Okay, so we're chopping here more often than not, unless something pairs. All right, fair enough. So he was strong here, but our general rundown of what the situation was might not have been wrong. There's a possibility this guy is going to shove any ace, most good kings, all pairs. There's plenty of reason to assume this player is getting in there. So the fact that he showed up with a better hand than us slightly one time doesn't really mean that much. Going to be betting here. 1,000. Okay. Painless enough. Half the chips in play, almost exactly. Half with 3 antes. 4 antes, almost. I guess we just fold this. All right. Great situation for us to have like the pile over here, the lockdown chip pile, and let them fight over the other half of the chips. So this is great for us. We'd much prefer this scenario to any other scenario with 4 people remaining. So having 3 people that are all the same, like 12 to 13 big blinds, is great for us. Looks like there's going to be the case no longer, though. Pocket ace is rocketing ahead. Glad we folded the 10-7 offsuit and didn't decide to get frisky. We said, no, not the time, correctly. So we're guaranteed $101. That's right, 101. We're guaranteed $101 at the moment. I think we can min raise this. Button's going to be tight. Small blinds is who cares. We have king, whatever. And big blind has been relatively tight. Let's run the cards. Fair fight. Going to need some kings and 5s or other collection of cards. That's not the best. No diamonds now. Almost have a straight. We have a straight draw. we rivered the straight draw. That's right. See, it's very opposite. I don't know how my Long Island accent has evolved over the years, but someone mentioned it. At least one person mentioned it watching the Heartland Poker Tour final table that I had a lot more of an accent then, and it's true. It's definitely flattened out since then. But things like there's one particular word I get made fun of a lot for. I'm gonna have to. It'll come to me because I've had so many conversations about it, but I'm bricking right now on camera. It'll come to me. If not now, then in a future video. But words like draw, like I don't know. I feel like my Long Island nature should not say it that way. Draw. That's how I was raised. I was raised to say draw. It's not how I say it anymore. All right, so we did a little bit of a lead thing here. Didn't really want to check raise or check call, so I thought maybe betting would be okay and clearing up the confusion of what was going on there. Don't think against these two players in the blinds that I will be taking too many buttons off. I think we'll be a 7-day work week when it comes to buttons. That's right. Gotta work, bitch. That is something. My new city mate over there, Miss Spears. All right, well, we got a bet, bitch. That's all I know. Starting out with a little wager, gets the job done. We have recovered from our King 5 donation, and then some. Probably just gonna muck this one. I feel pretty good about our chances here. Like, not to be too like egotistical or anything, leaving the ego entirely out of it. I think we probably win this tournament like 65 to 70% of the time. The dynamic is really strong for us right now. Like we've got position on the second place stack. The guy to our left isn't too aggressive pre-flop. Everything's going our way right now. So I feel pretty good about our chances here. Still, anything could happen. Blinds are really high, but that's not a call, I don't think. I mean, we could be shoving like super widely and then it's fine, but he's going to need a queen to survive. Not this time. So, like the spot here, three-handed. Let's talk about our strategy three-handed, right? Because we always want to, if you're trying to become a professional poker player, it's always good to evaluate strategy changes as soon as something shifts. So there's been a shift, obviously. Let's evaluate what our plan will be. We're probably going to have our best position is probably going to be either small blind versus big blind or button. Button's always obviously great, but small blind versus big blind isn't bad either for us, just given the stacks and the pressure we can put on him. Our big blind position is not bad either. We've been getting walks a lot. All three spots we're going to get are good. There's really not any bad situations for us right now. Happy about this, unless even if RC Magnum shoves here, I might be tempted, but yeah. Happy to call here, even without seeing his cards. All right. We are heads up with the cat avatar. Oh, come on. Come on. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, so heads up. Let's evaluate. Blinds will be up in 1 minute to 6:12, so that's worth noting. Okay, I start here with a check. I think it's fine. We could raise, but I don't really want to play a bigger pot out of position. Don't think it's going to... Oh, he checks back very fast. Going to be betting here, don't see why not. He seems like he probably doesn't have too much. We can definitely have something. We do have a gut shot anyway. Probably not going to bluff on this river, Actually, maybe we should. All right, I decided to. I think we get him to fold his non-pair hands better than us. Like he could just have ace 5, ace 4, even like a hand like king 4, king 5, So I thought he had enough non-pair hands that he could fold. I was never expecting him to fold a pair, but I thought that there was a chance he would fold non-pair hands that were better than ours. And looks like we got our way. We might have had the best hand too. We could have had a hand like 8-9 or something like that. That's definitely worth noting. So if I was our opponent, my strategy would be to put max pressure on pre-flop, try to play as big pots, make it 3K on the button at this blind limit, shove a lot over opens, try to say, do I have the best hand right now? If yes, all in. That would be my strategy if I was playing myself. I would change the avatar, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. So we're going to have very simple decisions in the big blind if our opponent is going to be all in or folding. This is a great opportunity to start breaking out limping for us because he hasn't been too aggressive yet against our open raises. But if he starts getting aggressive against our opens on the button, we can start mixing in limps. That's definitely fine. No reason to do it yet, though. Pretty good flop for us. We've made it to pair status, which is super good heads up. Starting with a bet. If our opponent shoves, we're not loving it because he definitely have tens and just have us beat, but he has enough other things that we would have to have continued. Not good enough to call, should he shove. Walk is sweet. I don't think he's shoving super widely. You know, his strategy has been relatively conservative prior to now, it seems. Happy to min-raise this and not fold if he shoves, of course. I call. Flipping. Gonna need to sweat a 10 or a 9 or some spades. Alright, going to need just to the 7. Close. It was a 3 across. Nope. Alright, the game continues, boys and girls. The game continues. I think his shove is fine, by the way, for what it's worth. I think his shove is absolutely fine. Just given the strategy we just laid out, he should be definitely doing that with hands like that, especially for the stack he had. Still got a 2-1 chip lead. Slightly concerned here that our opponent probably has like an ace-high type of hand or something like that, but gonna start with the bet. He checked back so fast on the flop, you know, that I just feel like we have to at least try. It would be criminal if we didn't try, you know? Okay. Once again, we've hit the stack size now where I'm probably not folding too many buttons. You know, probably just not gonna. I guess we fold at this point. Did not work out well for us that time. This is definitely a stack size where we can start limping buttons if he's going to attack us, but we've only seen him do it, you know, what, like 1 in 5? Wow, still shoving. Okay. Great news for us if he's still shoving because it just lets us pick a spot, you know. We can afford to wait for a little bit if he's going to be shoving so much. This is not a bad head into limp, actually, so I'm going to start with limping here, see how he reacts to it. If he just shoves even, it's good news because it means we can just, you know, opt into an all-in, which is great. Probably way ahead. You would imagine that if he had any good ace, he would probably have let us hear about it by now. Okay. Okay. All these things are good for us. Don't want to bet too much, you know, because I feel like we're so crushingly good ahead more often than we're so often so crushingly far ahead that I don't want to bet too much and scare him away. It's possible that he has a diamond draw or something like that, then that has the most equity against us. Oh, I am just thrilled about this. It's possible that this guy has a hand like ace 5 or pocket 5s, but pocket 5 might even raise pre-flop. So the question is, do we want to call and then shove on rivers or just call now or just shove now? You know, I think we're going to just call. I just don't think that he has diamonds too often and ever takes this line. Like, how can he have diamonds and check raise? That makes no sense. We have to call. I don't love this at all. We could definitely be beat, but by what? You know, he could have king 5 here just as often as he could have ace 5. Let's see. Ace 9. That will do it. So, I mean, we turned the worst card in the deck for us when I thought it was the best card in the deck for us. I mean, he shoved so fast on the river, but, like, he could have 9-5, king 5, ace, and the better ace, like, he doesn't have ace king too often, right? Because ace king would have probably re-raised pre-flop, right? We could also re-raise this. Ace king would have re-raised pre-flop, so he only has, like, he has ace 9 sometimes, and then he has ace 5 sometimes, and then he has king 5, 9-5, random hands like ace 10 maybe sometimes. So here we just checked, and now I guess we call. I mean, we could check raise and do something aggressive, but I think check calling is slightly better. Let's see if he puts more aggression on the turn here. He does not. I guess we check and give him a chance to bluff. He has check back auto checked on. So that was unfortunate. I mean, you know, that was unfortunate. I think that I don't think we could get away from it. I mean, we either going to shove turn, and that would obviously have been fine, or we could have I think calling turn is fine as well. And he shoves so fast on the river, but I know he's not. I know he's got something. I don't think he's got like Jack 7 offsuit, but like that's why I felt comfortable with just calling because I didn't think he had diamonds like ever. All right, gonna have to bet here twice. Pretty happy about it, to be honest. We've got our top pair and a heads up pot. Top pair heads up, I should say. If he shoves, we're going to have to call. Not liking it at all, but okay. Jack is pretty safe. River card. We lose to exactly Jack 10. Man, I mean, I don't really know if I think he's bluffing, though. We lose to, like, Jack X of clubs. We lose to... Oh, man. Check calls, and then just ships it. I don't know. I don't feel like we're ahead. I mean, this is a spot where I call very often, but I just don't feel like he's bluffing. Like, what is he doing? He's check calling, and then just open shipping. I mean, like hoping I fold spades. I mean, I don't know about that hand. Like typically speaking, you talk yourself into it and you just go like, okay, I don't think he has this. I think he has this. Like, and you go, oh, but our hand looks so good. And we have the top end of our range, and there are a whole lot of reasons to. This was my one shot bluff for the hand. Looks like we're just done now. We actually win against some hands. Very, very select few hands. I almost never fold in that pot. The pot odds are so good. We have such a strong hand. We have top pair, and we only lose to a certain number of things. But given the way he played his other 2-pair hand, given just the way that he played that particular hand, it's just very hard to imagine that he's got a hand worse than ours, right? Got to shove here with Queen 9. Don't love it, but we're going to need some help here. God, I'm going to wish we had just called with... All right, that's it. Nice hand, GG. So we're gonna do a turn 2 for this. Don't worry. So we end up getting second place here for it's still not bad. $275 total. No trophy for us though. So this 275.18 minus the $40 buy-in plus 1278.35. Lest we forget. Not bad. We ran it up. We played a tournament, Let's talk about it a little bit before we wrap this up. All right. So, I'm a little disappointed obviously that we didn't win, but I think, heads up, we did what we could. We got a little unlucky there with that King 9 hand, and the Queen 7 hands is the one that's brutal, because it just seems so unlikely that he has a hand that doesn't have a jack in it, or it doesn't have a beat on the river. It just seems like if he had a flush draw, why wouldn't he play it more aggressively earlier, right? What hands does he have that want to all of a sudden shove on that river that we beat? Does he have Queen 4? He's now decided to go crazy with. It seemed to me that although it's definitely possible that he bluffed us, it's definitely possible. I don't think I don't think calling there is as winning as folding and just going to war with our 20 big blinds after that. I think, or however much we had, I don't think that we're going to win there often enough for us to show a profit. And, it sucks. Obviously, it really sucks. But, if we had even ace queen, at least we beat all the queens. Once in a while, maybe he has a better queen than us, which would suck. And it obviously sucks that we didn't end up winning because we could have just called and lost, 4 hands ago and found out, so to speak. But, that's bad logic. We shouldn't. This doesn't actually mean anything. So, all in all, it was a good video. Starting anytime you get second in a tournament, you got to be happy with that, right? So, $235 in sweet profit. One of our bigger wins ever, actually. If you enjoyed this video, a little tournament action for you, a little bit extra extended. I don't even know how long these videos ended up being, but a long video, I'm sure. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate you guys hanging out and running up with me. It's always great. I'll be back with more soon. Don't forget, follow me on Twitter @JasonSomerville, and I'll be back with more very soon. Thanks so much for watching. As always, peace.